children, but why not? Here we are, Friday, every second Friday. Nice to have a gathering of senators, but it's a serious issue and it deals with Canada's children. And, Senator Moody and I have worked very hard in continuing what the Senate has talked about in terms of a report where we should have a children's commissioner, and it just seems to go by the wayside. We've had reports from the Senate, with Senator Anderchuk and others, and we've had members of Parliament who have been pushing for a children's commissioner. And if there was ever a time for a children's commissioner, it's right now, during this pandemic, because there is serious issues happening with children in terms of domestic abuse. 500,000 children, 500,000 in this country. This question is to the government representative in the Senate, so to put it on the record, 500,000 live in poverty, and the pandemic is likely to have increased challenges for families in this situation. Furthermore, there's interruption in their school routines, social distancing having an impact. Many can't go outside and play normally, so there's some really serious mental health issues as well taking place. Now, I applaud the government for giving funding to a kids' help phone. That is helpful. Anything is helpful, but it certainly doesn't seem to be enough. So, first question: many frontline charities and hospitals and organizations find their resources stretched as a need for services are increasing. Does the government have intentions to fund more groups at this time? And I do have a short supplementary. Thank you.
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you for your question and your ongoing commitment for this important cause. The government continues to evaluate the programs that it has introduced, and I think is revealing itself to be willing to make adjustments when gaps are identified. That said, a number of the programs that the government has already introduced have direct and indirect benefits to children, and whether living in difficult economic circumstances or subject to intimate partner or domestic violence. There's been funding to shelters, as you know, but equally important, the funding to individuals who have lost their jobs, and makes it possible for families to continue to get by, to buy their groceries and pay their rent. And that is to the benefit of every family and child. But to return to your question, the government continues to look at ways in which to make sure that the most vulnerable in our community and our country are taken care of, and continues to examine carefully whatever gaps may be revealed in its programs.
Senator Munson.
Thank you, Speaker. Just a brief supplementary. Just to get on the record that Sarah Austin has been a champion, and she is part of the head of Children First Canada. And she said recently that children whose families are already experiencing poverty, we know that a large number of them are being impacted by job losses, economic stresses placing on parents and families, putting kids at risk for food security, but also putting significant stresses on children's mental health and well-being. I mentioned that, and I think that's the focus where we need to be today. So I'd like to know, in terms of vulnerable children that with autism or other intellectual disabilities, I was pleased to see that the Minister Qualtrough put the autism community on her advisory board after she was here. They weren't there, and they are now there. Do you know, Senator Gold, any specific government plans? Is there something that may be coming to take care of all of Canada's children during this crisis?
Senator Gold.
Well, thank you. I'm not aware of any specific programs that are in the pipeline. We benefit as Canadians from regular announcements from this government, and again, I repeat, the government remains committed to ensuring that the programs that it's putting in place or will put in place make sure that the most vulnerable are taken care of. So I'll watch with interest to see what further announcements may be.